Good morning. Today's general topic is incidence of dual antiplatelet therapy interruption within 1 year after primary PCI in patients with acute ST segment elevation myocardial infarction. My moderator is Dr. Karthik Rao. ST segment elevation MI or STEMI is defined as a clinical syndrome of myocardial ischemia in association with persistent ST elevations and subsequent release of biomarkers of necrosis. It is a medical emergency. Majority of patients who suffer acute STEMI have a thrombotic occlusion in the coronary artery. Early restoration of coronary perfusion limits infarct size, preserves the left ventricular function, and reduces mortality. Treatment for the same should include coronary revascularization. Revascularization here is brought about by reperfusion. All treatment methods are secondary to reperfusion, and the choice of reperfusion should be considered of secondary importance to the overall goal of achieving reperfusion in a timely manner. So, when a patient presents to us, if he is a candidate for reperfusion and if he initially presents to a PCI capable hospital, we send the patient directly to cath lab such that the first medical contact to the device time should be less than or equal to 90 minutes. However, if the patient is seen in a non PCI capable hospital and he is eligible for reperfusion, we transfer him to a PCI capable facility such that the door in door out time is less than 30 minutes in the initial hospital. Once he's in the PCI facilitated hospital, the first medical contact till the device time should be less than 2 hours. If he presents to the hospital after 2 hours, he is started on fibrinolysis. Urgent transfer for PCI for patients with evidence of failed reperfusion or reocclusion after fibrinolysis can be done. This is in terms of persistent complaints, persistent ST segment elevation, or an evolution of MI. Also, as a part of invasive strategy, patient can also be posted for diagnostic angiogram, following which he can be posted either to an PCI or CABG. Now, what is primary PCI? Primary PCI is reperfusion through PCI before fibrinolysis is primary PCI. It is a preferred reperfusion strategy when available within 90 minutes of first medical contact. Compared to fibrinolysis, it offers superior vessel patency and perfusion, TME3 flow with less reinfarction, less bleeding risk, and improved survival benefits. PCI is also the preferred choice over fibrinolysis when the patient presents with cardiogenic shock, severe heart failure, acute pulmonary edema, that is CLIP class 3 and class 4 is severe heart failure, or any contraindications to the fibrinolytic therapy like a recent hemorrhage, stroke, or major surgery, symptom onset more than 12 hours, recent PCI or CABG. It is also found that STEMI patients with with symptom onset less than 12 hours prior have a better prognosis and outcome than the patient with symptom onset between 12 to 24 hours. Primary success of reperfusion is defined by adequate dilatation, means increase in luminal diameter more than 20% such that the residual diameter obstruction is less than 50%, with relief of symptoms in more than 95% of cases. It is usual clinical practice to administer aspirin indefinitely with a thienodipiridine drug for 1 to 3 months for a bare metal stent. The recommendations for drug-eluting stents is to continue aspirin indefinitely and P2Y12 antagonist daily for at least 1 year after implantation. The commonly used P2Y12 antagonists are clopidogrel, prasugrel, and ticlopidine. These are all the irreversible antagonists, and reversible antagonist is ticagrelor. Drug-eluting stents that deliver antiproliferative drugs can also reduce the incidence of restenosis. The risk of stent thrombosis is dependent on the stent length and size, the age, diabetes, such as the comorbidities of the patient, technique and complexity of the lesions. However, compliance with the dual antiplatelet therapy and individual responsiveness to the platelet inhibitions are very important as well. Dual antiplatelet therapy is associated with increased risk of bleeding and major bleeding in related to higher mortality and morbidity. In an emergency setting of primary PCI, it makes it difficult to take a detailed assessment of the patients, and such patients may be more prone to bleeding than anticipated. So, in our study, we would like to investigate systematically the incidence of dual antiplatelet interruption within 1 year in patients with acute STEMI who underwent primary PCI. Methodology. ARS is a single center retrospective observational study done between 2013 to 2017 in Queen Mary Hospital, Hong Kong. About 538 patients were collected in our study, which was a time bound study, with the diagnosis of STEMI on ECG were considered. 538 patients were considered, and their baseline demographic index, STEMI episodes, medications were all recorded, along with a significant past history for any comorbid illnesses like hypertension and diabetes. The primary outcome of our studies is to find the incidence if temporary or permanent discontinuation of dual antiplatelet therapy was made within 1 year from primary PCI. And the secondary outcomes was to find out the incidence of any bleeding episodes, which were defined by two criteria. One is the BARC criteria, called as bleeding academic research criteria, and incidence of high bleeding risk criteria after the primary PCI procedure. In BARC definition, any bleeding above type 3 is said to be significant or severe. Continuous variables were represented as mean and standard deviation. Comparison was performed by one-way analysis of variance, Mann-Whitney U-test, or independent samples were by Krusal-Wallis test, depending on the data distribution. Categorical variables were presented as absolute values of percentages. Fisher's t-tests were used for comparison. All statistical analysis were performed using the SPSS 19 software. So these were the results. In the first table, the baseline characteristics of the patient with ST segment elevation MI who underwent primary PCI was compared. Of the 538 patients with acute STEMI with the primary PCI, it shows that the mean age of the patient was 63.9%, that 63.9, which is about 81%, and 93.9% of these patients, there was a stent instilled, of which 88.3% of them had a drug-eluting stent instilled in them. To find out about the incidence of bleeding and the dual antiplatelet interruption, 84 patients, that is 17.1% of patients, interrupted their dual antiplatelet therapy within 1 year from the index PCI. 84 patients, that is 17.1%. The major reasons for stopping antiplatelet therapy here were severe bleeding, need for emergency surgery procedures, or concomitant anticoagulation. 113 of them, that is 23.1%, had issues for potential dual antiplatelet therapy interruption, which included mild or moderate bleeding, surgical procedures that could not be postponed. Incidence of high bleeding risk criteria as index STEMI presentation. The patients were also evaluated with high risk bleeding criteria with the above mentioned parameters, that is mainly the age, chronic kidney disease by their creatinine clearance and creatinine, anemia, platelet. 194 patients had at least one of the high risk factors. Age more than 75 and indication for anticoagulation were the most common criteria. In this table, we see that age, female gender, presence of diabetes, presence of anemia, presence of and non-smokers were associated with a higher risk of dual antiplatelet therapy interruption. This table actually compared parameters in univariate and multivariate analysis. The reasons for the same, which showed increased incidence of dual antiplatelet interruption, that is, the age, female gender, anemia, systemic hypertension, and non-smokers, could not be explained in the available data. On a multivariate analysis, age was found to be the only independent factor to predict dual antiplatelet interruption. Older the patient, more likely the chance of dual antiplatelet interruption. Discussion. With increasing incidence of STEMI and primary PCI, the need for drug-eluting stents and dual antiplatelet therapy for a minimal period of 1 year was established in many researchers around the world, including the American Cardiology Criteria and the European Association Criteria. In our study, it was noticed that two main reasons of interruption of dual antiplatelet therapy was bleeding and emergence of conditions that mandate the surgical procedures which cannot be postponed. It was noticed that patients discontinued therapy even with mild or moderate bleeding symptoms which did not necessitate a dual antiplatelet interruption. Thus, there was a need to find out various bleeding risk scores which was required to predict the risk of drug interruption or probability of severe bleeding conditions. A study called Precise DAPT score study was also done, which is nothing but predicting the bleeding complications in patients undergoing stent implantation and subsequent DAPT, was also developed to predict the risk of bleeding. The components here included age, hemoglobin, creatinine clearance, which is similar to our high risk bleeding criteria as described in our study. Other bleeding scores like Haslet scores for patients who are anticoagulants can also be used. Despite the use of risk assessment scores, reason for interruption depends upon person to person and various other comorbid illnesses. Thus, use of bare metal stents instead of drug-eluting stents to minimize the need for dual antiplatelet therapy, or use of newer drug-eluted stent coated with Biolimus A9 showed promising results in reducing the duration of dual antiplatelet therapy. There are basically five different types of stents that can be used. A bare metal stent, which is made up of stainless steel, requires anticoagulation for a period of 3 to 6 months. Dual drug-eluting stents, which is coated with a drug, relatively has a relatively slower healing process. Therefore, there's an increased risk of stent thrombosis. Hence, the need for dual antiplatelet therapy extends up to 1 year, as per standard guidelines. We also have bioengineered stent and bioreabsorbable stents, which are dissolvable, which for which the antiplatelet therapy is for a shorter time. The newer stents are the dual therapy stent, which has both the drug-eluting property as well as the bioengineered stent property, which are still under study. In our study, elderly patients of age more than 75 years and those who need anticoagulation therapy, for example, due to new onset atrial fibrillation, left ventricular thrombosis, and so on, were only apparent after the PCI. They all had a significant p value in determining the interruption of dual antiplatelet therapy. Other reasons for increased incidence of drug interruptions was CKD or GFR of less than 40 ml per minute. So the summary of this being, age is the most important factor that is associated with the need for dual antiplatelet therapy interruption within the first year of primary PCI. Hence, drug-eluting stents will be adapted better in younger patients with ST segment elevation MI undergoing PCI. There were a few limitations in our study. To state a few, ours was a single center retrospective study. There was no standardized protocol regarding the interruption of dual antiplatelet therapy. Some additional parameters like drug adherence, use of glucocorticoids, NSAIDs were not studies, which could be some confounding factors. Other studies to quote, a study about interruption of dual antiplatelet therapy within 6 months after the coronary stents from dual antiplatelet therapy showed that interruption of thienopyridines in the first 6 months after PCI occurs not infrequently. So it's a very common occurrence and is associated with an increased risk of major adverse and cardiac and cerebrovascular events, as studied in the MACE study, MACCE study, which showed that there was increased incidence of death, myocardial infarction, and stroke in patients who interrupted dual antiplatelets in the first 6 months. Hence, it is advised to continue dual antiplatelet therapy for a safe period of 12 months or consulting a cardiologist before tapering the dual antiplatelet therapy. To find out the bleeding risk, dual antiplatelet therapy cessation, and adverse events after primary PCI, a Paris registry study was done, which showed a similar magnitude of impact on subsequent mortality regardless of the bleeding status, whether the patient had a low bleeding risk or a high bleeding risk, irrespective of time of discontinuation of dual antiplatelets. Patient had similar mortalities and morbidity studies according to this study. A 6 month versus 12-month or a longer dual antiplatelet therapy after PCI in patients with acute coronary syndrome in a SMART-DATE study, which is a randomized open-label non-inferiority trial study, showed that the rate of myocardial infarction was significantly higher in 6-month dual antiplatelet therapy group than 12-month dual antiplatelet therapy group. Hence, again emphasizing the benefit of using dual antiplatelet therapy for 12 months rather than 6 months. Optimal duration, there was a study, this was a review article which studied about the optimal duration of dual antiplatelet therapy for coronary artery disease. Here it showed that it compared various studies regarding the duration of dual antiplatelet therapy after PCI. Most of the trials show a non-inferiority between dual antiplatelet therapy continued for 6 months versus 12 months or 24 months. The duration of dual antiplatelet therapy depends on the risk factors associated with the patient and the comorbid conditions that lead to the interruption of dual antiplatelet therapy. Dose modification should be done by a cardiologist on review. Take home message: patients presenting with acute coronary syndrome have a higher risk of recurrent ischemic events than those with stable ischemic heart disease. 12-month or a longer dual antiplatelet therapy should remain the standard of care for patients with acute coronary syndrome undergoing primary PCI despite the improved safety of current generation drug eluting stents. So these are my references. Thank you.